Senator Grassley, we're going to turn to you next, and Senator Marshall technically was next, but is deferring to you. And I will say again, we have invoked your name and leadership multiple times today. It's been a pleasure to work with you on this issue ever since we raised great concerns about the original Smithfield purchase. And thank you for working with so many of us on both sides of the aisle on this issue. Senator Grassley.
Well, thank you, Chairman and Ranking Member, for this very important hearing. And I don't know whether the figure of 100 million acres of farmland is going to be sold over the next 10 years, so this is a very timely hearing for you to have that. And you said you mentioned my name many times. I don't know whether you knew that I had an interest in this way back when I was a member of the House of Representatives and authored a piece of legislation, now law, in 1978 called the Agricultural Foreign Investment Disclosure Act. At that particular time, we didn't have any national records of foreign ownership of land, and this was required that the USDA keep track of this. Just last December, Senator Baldwin and I made improvements in that act with the Farmland Security Act, which was included in the Omnibus Appropriation Bill. The bill requires a report to Congress on these investments and to publish a prior year disclosure on an interactive and public USA data system. So that brings me to Mrs. Green. If you have taken steps to implement the changes included in the Farmland Security Act, and what have those steps been?
Thank you, Senator, and thank you for your leadership on this issue. Section 773 of the Consolidated Appropriation Act did designate that USDA needed to modernize the FIDA reporting system within 3 years and make it an online system accessible and queryable. We did not receive any funding to be able to implement that. So we looked to creating a cost-efficient one to move forward. This summer, around June, we uploaded an Excel file for 2011 to 2021, so those could be searchable and queryable on our website.
Okay, thank you for that answer, and I hope that Congress realizes that we were reluctant or didn't put money into it, but maybe getting it authorized is the necessary first step. Most recently, Senator Baldwin and I have introduced a bill to bring additional transparency and oversight to the foreign investment in farmland. The Farmland Security Act of 2023 imposes a new financial penalty on foreign owners or shell companies who fail to report or misreport their acreage. So, Ms. Green, how does the USDA currently track shell companies, and do you have any data on how many foreign shell companies may own farmland?
Sure, the report information that we receive is based on the self-disclosure. So the level of reporting that we provide annually is the information and the data that we do have available.
Okay. Do you think that the Department of Agriculture should have a permanent seat on the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, CFIUS as we call it?
Thank you for that question, sir. I want to be able to state that it is not within my purview at FPAC regarding the decision for the department to serve on CFIUS. That would be in the purview of the Office of Homeland Security. But what I can say is to be able to repeat things that my boss has definitely shared, and most recently was at Monday's White House press briefing, that the Secretary was asked a very similar question on Monday, and he stated that he does support USDA having a more robust role on CFIUS.
Okay. And then, Mr. Pittman, a lot of credit goes to my state of Iowa for having some of the best laws on the books when it comes to foreign land ownership. Because of these restrictions, Iowa does not have the issues that other states have had. In your research, have you encountered any state laws that could serve as an example for federal legislation that could be enacted?
The short answer is no, because it's not just a patchwork of legislation, it's a historical patchwork of legislation. And so it's difficult to find one that would be a model. There are unique differences in Iowa to Missouri to Pennsylvania to South Carolina and on and on. Some of these laws were put into place, I think of Pennsylvania in particular, 1791 and 1818. They've been unamended ever since. It'd be hard to use that as a model law. And so we don't really have a lot of uniformity yet that would allow for something like that. It'd be hard to do. And, you know, and in that historical perspective, the reason so many of these laws are in the Midwest is that at one point that was the western boundaries of the United States. And so it just has a historical underpinning to it. And so they were enacted at a very different time. Many have been amended in some ways. Some have not been amended very much. It'd be hard to do.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman.